Good morning, everyone. I'm Deborah Rose. Thank you for joining us at the talk show. Sorry we're a little bit late, but all good things come to those who wait, right?
Yeah,
we have our wonderful mayor joining us today, so we appreciate that you're here. We'll be live for the next 30 minutes. If you have any questions, feel free to type in a question. We'll try very hard to get to them. And we have a lot of great updates from our wonderful Tom Morrissey, Mayor of Payson, Arizona. And before we get started, just want to say thank you to Cameron Davis behind the camera with Razor Thin Media for making sure this show happens. So let's just dive right in. Welcome, Mayor.
Well, it's good to be welcomed.
Yeah.
It's good to see you again, Deborah.
It's so refreshing to see cowboys around. And now that I'm in this historic building that's built in 1905, trying to bring the legacy of the cowboy back because that's our history here.
Yeah.
It's really refreshing to know that our mayor is got that kind of heritage, right? Or not right?
Well, I started out, it's funny, I started out, I grew up in Brooklyn, but my dad was from the South. So I have a lot of Southern culture woven into my DNA. And as a kid, the only thing I ever wanted to be was a cowboy. And my favorite shows were The Lone Ranger and Hopalong Cassidy and all of that. So as I grew up, I always felt like I didn't belong in Brooklyn, New York. I always felt like I should be somewhere out in the country. So ultimately, my life evolved, and I wound up a deputy U.S. Marshal, and I worked all over the country. And one day, I happened to be at a promotion for a bank, and it was the bank. The promotion was called the Lone Ranger, and Clayton Moore, who portrayed the Lone Ranger, was there. I have a picture with him.
Oh my gosh!
And so he invited me into the shoot. I just was there as a fan. So he said, "Well, what do you got to say for yourself?" I said, "Well, I'm going to blame you for my life today." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "As a kid, I said I almost worshipped you." I said, as a Lone Ranger, and I said, "I wound up I'm a deputy U.S. Marshal." I said, "I'm going to blame it on you." He said, "Well, that's a good thing, right?" I said, "Damn right it is." But the cowboy thing, I think the spirit of our country is really in the West. Because as of course our framers and our founders were in the East, but they were cowboys without knowing they were cowboys, and that pioneer attitude is what brought this country to the great. One of the reasons why we're as great as we are. So I love the fact that I can wear a cowboy hat around town and I can do all of that stuff and wear
your
cowboy
boots
and all that. So. I love the tradition, and I hope you know I love this town.
Yes, you do.
And speaking of that, we're trying to maintain and keep our rodeo up and running, and the COVID thing brought a lot of challenges to it. So I'm working. I want folks to know I'm working very hard with the rodeo committee to keep our rodeo intact and those folks that put the rodeo on do an awful lot of work. It's a year-round job. And the rodeo is, I think, our biggest event. And probably the fireworks of 4th of July is the second biggest event. But it's incredibly important that we keep that going. It's part of our culture.
Absolutely. So. And we have the world title. I mean, the longest continuous running rodeo in the world is our Payson Rodeo. So do they need volunteers? Is there a need that
they always need that. They need fundraising. They fund, and whatever fundraising events they do goes right into the rodeo, and it comes right back to the town. That August rodeo especially brings probably $500,000 into this town for that weekend, and so it's a great benefit to the town, and that's critical to supporting our services, as we go forth. But it's a critical issue. The other, well, there's many critical issues that we have, but we're working on several. I would think dynamic possibilities. Even more than their probabilities on what's going to be happening in this town over the next 5 years, and it's going to be mind-boggling. We just talked before we went on camera about the internet and the internet coming. Well, we have spark lights here, and they run a line in, from one direction, and that enhances our entire internet process and our cable TV. And on the other hand, APS is running fiber up from the valley. That's in process. And when that gets here, that's going to not only come here, it's going to swing north to Joseph City, west to Flag, and then down 87. So we're going to have a loop that will bring us a redundant internet.
That's right. We need that line from the valley to make us redundant, because there's a lot of conversation. Redundant means solid, surefire. There's a loop connecting everything together, so it creates stability in our system. So that's really exciting. What else?
And not only that, it's going to make our broadband more robust.
Yes.
I mean, substantially more robust.
And that's a big need, because as more and more people are pushing out on the rural rush in real estate, they can work from home now. We'll have more and more demand for that consistency.
Absolutely. And even the professions, my daughter-in-law is an attorney, and she and my son, her practice is in Gilbert, but they live here. And she's able to run her practice from here. Of course, Gilbert's a hop, skip, and a jump down the road.
Yeah, it does.
But we're in the heart of Arizona. You can get just about anywhere you want to go in a car within 4 hours from Payson. And it's a beautiful ride. We're an hour from the big city. We're an hour and a half from an international airport. We couldn't be in a better place logistically. And this town is now starting to really manifest. When I took office, Deborah, and you and I had conversations about this, many conversations, one of the things that troubled me was I didn't understand why we weren't further along.
That's right.
And part of the reason was, and we got to give the devil his due, was the recession. Recession really cut deeply into our ability to grow. Now that doesn't mean we need to grow in the case of spread. We're not going to become Prescott, because luckily, and we're blessed with this, we're landlocked. So there's just so much growth that we can realize. But we can do more with the land that we have. Okay? And when you look at Payson, we have these very, very upscale homes, and we have these very, very barely survival, minimalist places, and we don't have anything in the middle. So what we're lacking, and this is something that you've been bringing to the table, you brought it to Congressman Gosar's attention, as a matter of fact, is that we need workforce housing.
Yes. For
young families, and people say, well, and we talk about affordable housing. Well, when you say affordable housing, sometimes people think it's government subsidized. That is not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is bringing a workforce here, bringing in young families. 60% of our town's retired. Our community. So we require. I'll say we because I'm part of that group. But the fact is, there's services that we need, and we need younger people to provide those services.
Absolutely.
So we're working on. I'm in the process now trying to get the community college on board with creating 2-year degree schools here for the trades.
Exactly. Vocational school.
Okay. So we do that, it creates the work pool that will attract light industry and provide the services that we need. So the problem that we've had, and it's a national problem, it's not just in Payson, but it happens here, so it impacts us directly, is there's a tendency in leadership to play checkers when you need to be playing chess.
Exactly.
And we're dealing with something now that I just left a meeting. I Joe Miller and myself, and you need to get Joe on the show so he can tell you about what happened. We created a stakeholders group, that consists of Bureau of Land Management, SRP, U.S. Forest Service, and I love this group, the Wild Turkey Federation. And it's not the ones that drink. But these are pretty.
I think my dad's on that group.
Is he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Ducks, turkeys, something.
And then we have the National Bass Fishing Association.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is, one of the things that really I'm very focused on is the forest around the Blue Ridge Reservoir. Okay, now we have built, and it's amazing that this has been accomplished. We're in the best place for water anywhere in the Southwest.
That's correct.
Okay, because of C.C. Cragen. Okay, we had that. What wasn't addressed when that was brought into, when it was manifested, was forest. What do we do about the forest?
That's right.
So that forest has been in pretty bad shape. And if that forest goes up and we have a catastrophic fire, that knocks not only our water system out, it knocks out the water that goes from the SRP down to the valley, which is the economic basis of our state. So we started, Joe Miller and myself, we started talking, this is about a year and a half, maybe even longer ago, about putting together a stakeholders group. And we have that now. And with the entities I just mentioned, but added to it is Congressman Gosar, his staff, Senator Sinema, and her staff, and she has been a delightful person to work with. I've been working very closely with her. Her concerns are about our state, and she's been very helpful to me in getting us through this COVID challenge that we've had. And as has Congressman Gosar. I mean, both these people were really working hard. And so as you know, as we go forward with this particular group, and what has happened is SRP. Now we had our first meeting in December, early December. We have about 50 entities involved. As I said, Bureau of Land Management, all kinds of people that have a stake in this. So from that meeting, we created subgroups. At that meeting in December, SRP said we'll pay for the management of the forest around that reservoir, and then it will layer out to the surrounding forest. So from this one meeting, this journey of 1,000 miles, one step in that journey, what's happened is we've had an explosion of activity. So the meeting, so SRPs it's already happening. It's not something we're going to be doing. It's happening, and U.S. Forest Service, and also the biofuels plant. A man named Brad Worsley runs that. It's up by Sholo. So here's what happens when you have innovation and when you're playing chess. Okay, when we had the snowstorm that took down all the tree limbs, and unfortunately killed my good friend Dean Yocker.
I know, what a wonderful man.
Well, really incredible loss. So what happens there? We had all this stuff on the ground and tree limbs coming down, and the brush pits were closed. So I got with Troy Smith, the town manager, and I said, Troy, we need to create a pop-up brush pit, and we did at the rodeo grounds or the event center. So we had all this rubbish sitting there. So Brad Worsley from the biofuels came in and took half of it off our hands at no cost to the town. He's a member of our stakeholders group. And then the rest of it, the town dealt with. It cost us roughly $20,000 to get rid of the rest of it, but we got rid of all of that. I'd say rubbish, but it was just fallen tree limbs and things like that. But when you have a need and you have the ability to address it, you get things done. So the beauty of this stakeholders group is it's a combination of the private sector and the public sector working like this, yin yang. And what's happening now is just incredible. I mean, it's incredible. And we've been able to establish this coalescence between these different entities. And now we have a dialogue. So we're talking to one another. So on the Zoom meeting this morning, we had people from all over the state, from all parts of the stakeholding community, which is not only here but all over the state, talking with one, and the ideas were flying. Now, I did the welcoming. We yada yada yada, and I'm happy you're here and all that stuff. And I'm going to turn it over to Joe Miller, and then and then Joe jumps in, and man, he runs that thing like a machine. And you got people, I mean, just talking to one another, and making agreements. And now we're putting together a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, that will be our pathway to solving these problems. And Deborah, I'm telling you exactly. You could tell me right back word for word. But the thing is, we're sitting on a powder keg here.
I know.
I mean, if we have a catastrophic fire, everything that we've done over the last 40, 50 years is moot. It's gone. Everything. So we have to prevent that at all costs. So that's what this group is doing.
Is there an arm of this coalition here that is going to address the man-made fires and all the campers? We have a lot of people now living in the forest, and that's a big part of the problem.
Right.
And with summer right around the corner, there's campfires. Is there enough U.S. Forest Service workers to police that and to stop people from inadvertently starting fires? Because the number one fire starter is people don't douse their campfires well enough. They just leave it smoldering, and that's a big concern for all of us living in Payson and the surrounding areas, Pine, Strawberry, Christopher Creek.
Well, the words of Smokey, only you can prevent forest fires. But he had a much deeper voice than I have. But here's the thing. The Forest Service has limited resources.
Yes.
I mean, really. So it comes down to common sense and common courtesy. One of the reasons why we were able to put the warming center together was to get people out of the forest and into a safe environment overnight, and that's happened. Mm-hmm. Now that's another subject, maybe for another day, but that is incredible what has occurred there. The same thing, as a matter of fact, the stakeholders group is based on the same model that we used for the warming center. We got the churches around the same table and dialogue created, and out of that came the warming center. Now the warming center is now helping people get back on their feet. People are getting jobs. They're becoming self-sustained. They're not going back to the woods. Some of them, more are than not. However, what we're at now is we created a second level that's going to provide transitional housing. Now there's a family down in Rye, a Brown family. They're ranchers. They have a strip of land right near where the billboards are, right on the highway, and they're developing that land and creating 40 spots for mobile homes. They're putting in septic systems and all of that. This is working together now. Now Tim Humphrey, one of our county supervisors, made the mistake of telling me that they have approximately 100 mobile homes sitting they're in the care and custody of the county. So I'm PITA, P-I-T-A, and pain in the. So I've been staying on it, and Tim has too. So now, and we have Steve Christensen now, our new county super, who's great, and Woody Klein, God bless him. Woody's like my brother. But now we're working together to find a way to transport some of those facilities here. There's another man who has a double wide. Another person, Sam Hughes, is going to donate a double wide there. That's going to create 6 rooms. It'll be common housing. But what it'll do is it'll move. Now we have a place to go from the warming center, the overnight stay, now to transitional. And then we'll create some kind of a transportation system because the jobs are here, and to alleviate that. So that's another thing that's organic. It's growing, and it only takes really one or two people to start this stuff.
It's true. I mean, we have so many valuable resources in our retirement community. You made note of it, that they're wise, they have a lot of experience and wisdom, and to ask them for help is a wonderful thing. It's amazing to me why we haven't asked for help before, and that's essentially what you've done, is you spearheaded a stakeholder group that said we need help because we have a big problem here if we do have a forest fire. So that's really exciting news. Yeah. What else is going on in town that you wanted to tell everyone?
Well, we are there's a lot of conversation about the community center and the park over on the SLE property.
On the east side of town, off of Mud Springs.
Right, off of Mud Springs and off of 260, you know, the entrance there. You see the signs University Way. Well, the opportunity has presented itself to the town where the MHA and the RCEA and all of those initials are willing to build a community center in a park area at no cost to the town. They will build that, and they would then turn that over to the town to run. So I think I don't see any problem with that so far. Now I understand there's been problems in the past, and I think we all know what I'm talking about. So I'm looking at it. I'm saying the offer, the suggestion is good. If this offer came from Mao Zedong, I would take it. I mean, it's a good offer. So I've gone out and I've talked with the folks at the Tea Party about it, because they had one of the largest meetings when I was there, and I had my Payson complaint department hat on, so I get here, and my message is this, and it remains this, folks, listen, take a breath, and listen. We cannot go back and change the past. We can impact the future. And the thing is, you use the phrase, my wife likes this phrase, and I thank her for bringing it to my attention. Honor the past, but live in the present. And that's where we need to go from here. So if we can whatever is a benefit to the town, I'm for. And whoever brings it, great. Okay. Now, my special interest, and I have a special interest, it's called Payson. And that's it. And it begins and ends there. I understand that everybody has their motivations and all that stuff. My interest is not political. It's not anything more than I love my town. And if this is good for the town, I'm for it. If it's not, I am not. And it's as simple as that.
Well, another question comes to mind is, but what about the Rumsey Park and the community pool? And that's crumbling right before our very eyes. So can we save that too, or first?
No. We can save Rumsey Park, and we will. They're rehabbing it. The pool is a dead issue. It's a hazard. We can't use the pool. Number one. Number two, it doesn't meet the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, which kicks in. We cannot do that. What the park, or what they're bringing with the community center, is a year-round annual, indoor pool. So that solves that problem. Now, my thoughts on it are this. It's not something that's going to be something that the town's not going to have to spend money on, because to maintain and to run it's going to cost us a lot of money. But we don't have the added expense of building a pool, which we were going to have to do to accommodate. So this brings the pool there. It brings pickleboard courts, and it brings racquetball courts, and it brings all those things, those enhancements that we don't presently have. We have pickleball courts over in there, but the thing is, we only have a certain amount of money and resources. So my idea has been, since I've been mayor, is to prioritize, meet the needs. The needs first, the wants second.
So why weren't we able to use the funds to maintain the pool in the first place? What went wrong there? Because that will develop down the road in the future, because that pool, if it's built on the other park, that pool will also face the same challenges as Rumsey Park. Was there just severe neglect on that community pool over the years? Because if I remember correctly, we voted down the YMCA. We tried bringing that in, and I know Cameron was a big part of that, and that failed.
Yeah.
So I think the residents may be a little concerned that no one's talking about the money and what that's really going to cost us. So it sounds like you're just beginning the negotiations on that. Is that right?
It's going to cost the town over $1 million a year to run that. I mean, I can tell you that.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Now, Cameron and Cameron's idea is what I love. I have been in discussion with the regional director of the YMCA, and this was over a year ago. I asked him. I said, "Will you consider coming and building a facility and running it?" And he said, "No." He said, "But if you build it, we'll run it." So now my suggestion, and Cameron, the nod of the head, you tell me. Now my suggestion is this. Okay, well, if the MHA and RCEA are being so kind as to build this thing, why can't we bring the YMCA in to run it? At no cost to the town.
I hope we have really good attorneys, because that collusion, that's a merger of different enterprises, and that is going to take a phenomenal amount of negotiations to make sure that it's done well and can survive that model into the future. So it's a lot of work.
The model has to work, or we don't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, it's just common sense. Why not do that? Now, the problem, the complication here is, if the YMCA does that, they have to be in on the design, and because they have to be able to accommodate that. Now, and if you don't ask, you don't get. If you don't start a dialogue, you don't get that. So my advice to the town, because there's a lot of people that don't trust previous administration. Okay, all right, I understand that, and I've had my issues. Okay, I'm not going to go there right now. But what I'm saying to everybody is, take a deep breath, take a look at this deal, dialogue, talk with one another about it. Let's discuss it and look at it, and don't close the door before you have a chance to go through it. Yeah.
Well, that brings up another point. I think that's great. Having conversations is the beginning.
Right.
What about the town council meetings where the doors have been closed now for a year? Are we going to open that up so the public can get back involved? There's very few people who watch the live stream videos. So what are your thoughts on that? Like opening things back up so the community can get involved, and are there going to be COVID practices when you do that?
Well, the CDC regulations are what we're governed by with that. Okay? I don't control that. Mm-hmm. But that only allows 13 people to be in that space. And we have different types of meetings where we have people from the outside coming in. They have to have those spaces. So the question is, how do we control that? So we have to put a police officer there to make sure that only the people that... Now, one of the ways to do it is maybe to do a lottery so people can draw numbers, because and I know what will happen. We'll have the same people getting there at noon, sitting there and just sitting and glaring at Deborah, I don't have time for this crap. I mean, really,
say it like it is.
That's middle school stuff, and we have big problems.
We have big problems,
and issues we have to address. I don't have time for it.
Right.
I had one of them trying to get in on the meeting today. Had no standing and demanding to be on the meeting. It's by invitation only. It's a working meeting. And why in hell do you want to? So the harassment aspect of this thing, I mean, I'm a public figure, and I'm a big boy, I know how to handle that stuff. But still, it's distracting. So
by the way, did you bring your puppet strings for me? Because I just want to make sure that...
Yeah, right.
I'm your puppet, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure.
Deborah, folks.
3 minutes left. Oh, are we going to go over? Oh, we got 3 minutes? This is not even fair. How did time get by so fast?
Let me assure the watching audience, nobody controls this woman. Trust me on that. And God bless her for that. Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you for vouching for me.
Well,
because I was quite sure my new name was going to be Marionette.
Yeah. But we have, we don't have time for these silly games. So to answer your question, right now what we're trying to do is to use the new space, to expand the space over at the library so people can be there and they can come up and they can address the council. I am totally, I'd let everybody in. I don't have a problem with that. But I don't want it to be used as a harassment to anybody on the council. I'm not the only one, and I don't have time for it. Really, I got a job to do. And I've got a lot of things that have to. I can't.
Can you move it to the ballroom of the casino? And then have at least like 50 people be able to attend? Is that possible?
The capacity of the library is now 150.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
that's even better.
That'll be that. But the thing is, we can't really do it under the COVID restrictions yet. I want to do it because everybody wants it, and you have a right to it. We work for the town. I mean, I work for you guys. And I want you to know what I'm doing. And I'm not trying to hide anything. Lord knows I'm not doing it.
Okay, are you getting any support? I never see any articles or anything positive about you in the Payson Roundup. Are they helping you get the message out or not?
Do I need to comment on
Yes,
that?
you do.
Okay.
Yes, you do.
Okay. A week ago Tuesday, might have been Friday, a week ago, I made not only the front cover, but above the fold on that.
Positive?
Positive. Because I'm agreeing with, they talked about my statements at the Tea Party meeting, where I said, let's honor the past and live in the present and look to the future. And let's take a breath and consider the opportunity that might be here, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, okay, that might be presented us. Don't turn that down because of what you fear from the back. I will protect
That was the
town.
first time ever, though. You've been mayor for how many years?
Two, I'm going on 3 years.
Yeah, okay.
So, 1 minute. So you got one minute. And
is there any questions, Cameron? No. Real quickly, the road up and down Payson to the valley, we talked about how we're centrally located. Real quickly, the restroom that we had for years, that has been closed for years, is non-functioning. And there's a lot of people that need a restroom. Why hasn't Governor Ducey reopened? That is ADOT, that's state-owned land. Can you speak to that? Because there's people that need that restroom.
Well, when they closed it, it got stripped of all plumbing. People went in and stole all the copper and all the piping out of it. So it's a shell. So it will take a tremendous amount of money to get it back open. The need is there. We need to address it. My suggestion is that it's sold to a private entity, which there's several that want to buy it, and let them control it, let them put a restaurant there and maintain like they do on the roadways back east. One of the few things that I like about back east anymore is that they have these on turnpikes. They have stop stations. It's got to be supported. And the way to do it is bring in the private industry. Do it. I mean, it works. Do it.
Well, let's get it done.
Well, I've been pushing it. I've been in discussions with the governor about it. He's been receptive to it. Thinks it's a good idea. Now it would probably take the legislature to make it so, but it's probably going to happen. But that's the only way it's going to happen.
Okay, and I'm just going to make one quick plug for you as we're wrapping this up, and thank you everyone for just being patient with us. This is a great conversation. Our mayor has a very storied and colorful past, and he has amazing friends. So real quickly, I know that you are a musician. You're now becoming an author. You've written a book with Steven Seagal. Can you tell people what the name of that book is?
The Way of the Shadow Wolves.
The Way of the Shadow Wolves, available on Amazon, and there's more to come, right? You're going to write a couple more books?
Well, I got one I'm going to be publishing soon about my parents' candy store, which is a comedy. I actually use the folks that that frequented it created a storyline. It's a comedy. And then I'm writing an autobiography on myself. It's called The Cowboy from Brooklyn, and we're putting that together.
We're going to have a famous mayor soon. Well, he's already famous in our minds, but
infamous.
Infamous, yeah. Oh, it's been an absolute. We'll have to have you come back.
I love it,
because I know there's a lot more updates that you have for our community. Thank you for doing a great job. It's always an honor to have you on this show. I just thoroughly enjoy it. And God bless you and everything that you're doing and the town council.
And God bless you, and God bless Cameron for getting this done.
Thanks for joining us. The show will be archived on www.paysonazproperties.com. That's my website. Under the talk show, it'll be archived next week, and you'll find a lot of other shows there too. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day.